Welcome to Innovation Alley. In this episode, Tim O'Rourke is joined by Eddie Fontanin, Brevard County, Florida's Utility Services Director. Eddie shares leadership lessons he's learned over the course of his career.
Welcome to Innovation Alley. I'm in Orlando today? Sunny Orlando?
You need to ask that?
I got to ask.
Okay.
And we're joined here today by Brevard County's Utility Services Director, Eddie Fontanin.
Hi,
Now,
everybody.
I'm going to have you introduce yourself in a minute, but full disclosure, you and I met how long ago?
1997, 98.
What was my hair color then?
You were brunette, man. Yeah,
I was a brunette. I was a brunette.
You had eyebrows and everything.
Yeah, I did have it all. And it's all gone now.
It's all
gone.
No. It's all on what's inside.
So you go way back, and the reason we know each other is because you had a stint at Wade Trim that lasted how long? Over a
19
decade.
years.
Yeah, 19 years.
Yeah.
And so I saw most of that, right? If not all of it. And now you are running a utility in one of the larger counties in Florida, right?
That's
and you've
right.
had a lot of steps to get to that. So
There's a rite of passage to get to where you want to go.
So instead of me articulating your arc, how you got here, why don't you, for the people listening here, kind of go
Sure.
from, not from the day you were born,
All
but
right.
you know.
I just want to say thanks to my mom and dad for having
Yeah.
me, but I'm going to fast forward through all of that. So I'm a graduate of environmental engineering, University of Windsor, Ontario, Canadian, but dual citizen. First job was a small civil engineering firm in Detroit. I was grateful for that because for 2.5 years I was doing construction engineering. So that was really cool. That's where I got introduced to Wade Trim. My first interview, which was your mentor, was John Barber.
Oh my God, John Barber.
Yeah. I spent an hour with him, listening to him talk. He was getting up and leaving, and I said, "Wait a minute, I don't even know if I have a job here." But long story short, that subsequently led to a second interview with Andy McEwen before he was your CEO.
Yeah.
And then did 19 years. Started off doing private development review, construction management, did transportation pipeline design, project management, and then in 2005, you guys had this initiative to expand into Florida. I remember they were saying we're opening up an office in Palm Bay, and I was like, where's that?
Yeah.
But my wife and I came down and we took this whole approach of we're going to give it a shot. It was an opportunity for me to grow. We said we were going to give it 5 years now. Next February, it'll be 20.
Yeah.
And then I did that for 10 years as a VP in water resources, doing water, wastewater, utility department projects. And then I lose track of time, in 2016.
16, right?
Yeah. I had a client who was the utility director at Palm Bay, and his name was Dan Roberts. I give a shout out to him.
Yeah, I
Super
remember that
nice
name.
guy. Very, retired as a major in Corps of Engineers. Very Christian, family-oriented guy. And I remember he called me and he said, "Hey, I want to buy you a beer." And Dan was one of the most frugal guys you ever met.
Yeah.
So he's telling me this at 9 o'clock that I thought all day he was either going to scold or fire me, and I couldn't figure out for what. And sat down with me and said, "I'm going to talk to you, and I want you to shut up and listen." And
Which is hard to do.
It's hard.
Yeah.
It's hard. You're going to see today.
Oh, I know.
Yeah. But he basically said, "I see where you're going, that you don't see where you're going, and I'm going to tell you, you need to take over for me as utility director. And
See, I didn't know the background of that. So it was like eminently, or did he say you're going to work into it, or
he says, I'm retiring. And
you're going to take it?
he goes, you need to take this. And at the time, I was like, what do you mean I'm going to take it? I'm a VP at an engineering
Did you go through an
firm.
interview process, or just took it?
No, the client was already familiar with me, and I had a good rapport with staff. So, I mean, I haven't had an interview since my first job out of school, when you really think about it.
So you don't count the McCune one, an interview?
No, not the barber one. The barber one, I didn't even talk in that one. But
John Barber, if you're going to steal big.
still big, right? Somehow we were talking about socks with him at the time. Yeah, so I went back, I blew it off. It got in my head. And I'll tell you, I thought about it, and I was like, man, this makes sense to me. What didn't make sense was I was going to have to take a pay cut in order to take this job, because you go public sector, there's no bonus, stock options, none of that. But, you know, and I say this story, and it's not as a knock to anybody, but you know, money doesn't buy you happiness. And at the time when I did it, my wife told me two things. She goes, first off, you're going to have to curtail your spending, because I'm not going to be married to a broke guy. And two, if this is what's going to make you happy, I support you. And I was really appreciative of that. And I remember my kids, about 5-6 months after I took the job, my kids at the time were in 4th and 6th grade, and I remember they were just telling me, they goes, Dad, you're smiling more.
Yeah.
And I was like, what are you talking about? And I was like, I don't know, we just noticed you're smiling more. And I was like, wow, I never, you know, pieced it together, but it's a different atmosphere.
It's more stable, and it's right. I mean,
it's you know, for me. There's all these things about leadership training.
Yeah.
But it's when you're doing it.
Mm-hmm.
And when you become a utility director, you're the leader.
Yeah.
There's no handbook. You can go to your city or county manager and ask them, what do I do now? And their answer is going to be, that's what we hired you for.
That's what you're here for, yeah.
You go out there, you show up at 6:30 in the morning, you'll see 100 or 200 guys waiting for direction, and it just kind of like renewed an energy in this whole industry of water, wastewater. So I did that for about 2.5 years, and then I was approached by Brevard County.
Did this gig set you up for Brevard County?
They heard about it. So I was reached out by the leadership of the county manager at the time. They reached out and said, we heard a lot of good things about you, and our utility director is... And, you know, honestly, I was really looking for a bigger platform, because I felt like I was kind of now getting acclimated and being a director and what that, you know, evolved into. So I took that job, which I'm not going to lie, it was bigger responsibility.
Were you smiling as much on that?
You know, because I was 2 miles from home, but I was just excited because I just felt like I got through that initial step, and I was really looking for something on a bigger platform, but careful what you ask for, because I got more work than I know what to do with.
Yeah.
But now it's September this year, it'll be 7 years.
7 years.
7 years.
Wow.
I'll tell you, there isn't a day where people say, hey, do you know you could have made more money if you went private? And, you know, but there's There's something about just leading a group, seeing the morale pick up.
Yeah.
A lot of times we focus a lot on utilities, on what the program is, but when you do the job of being an actual utility director, there's so much more to that. And that's something I learned in Palm Bay. The staff, the guys and women in the field who show up at 6:30.
So all the shops, all of the people that are keeping everything going, right?
Everybody.
You know, my buddy has touched the equity world, and there's that misnomer out there that, you know, if you privatize everything, it's much more efficient and runs better. I go, I live in the world of municipal public agencies.
Right.
So I don't think private can replicate what these public agencies do.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know, what's your opinion, because you've been doing it a lot longer than.
I mean, you know, my job is to spend the money for the betterment of the utility. I don't wake up wondering.
Shareholders, you're not worried about shareholders and other, right?
Well, I mean, the shareholders are the customers
Right.
themselves, but I don't think about if I cut here, I might get a bigger bonus check.
Right, exactly.
And I say this all the time. You know, I've been doing this for almost 10 years in the public sector. I've yet to get a bonus check. There are none. If they are, you're lucky. I've never heard of it. So, you know, for my take on it is, what we're generating, we should be rolling into the longevity of the utility. I think that's a job of any director or leadership. So, do I think private equities? I don't know. I mean, I haven't worked with them, but the fact that they're looking at, you know, they get bonus checks makes me wonder if that.
Well, your observation is the same as mine. If you're driven by business principles and profit, sometimes that could get in the way of what a utility needs.
Right.
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 And that's why I think the people, life servants like you're talking about, have done this their entire careers, and they care about what they're doing every day, and they, you know.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, you know, when I was at Waitrim in Florida, I went to a Florida City County Managers Association conference, and I remember there was this city manager talking that actually, you know, looking back, it reminded me of why I chose this path. It was like, look, if you want to make a change, you got to work on the government side. Because at the end of the day, we on this side of the fence are the ones making the decisions. You guys are the support staff. We listen to you all. Trust me, and we never go in. We always go in, at least this is the way I've trained my staff, is we want to have an open dialogue. Sometimes the open dialogue gets animated, but I think it's good because it shows passion toward what the goal of the project is. But yeah.
When you took Palm Bay, you were working, now people that you used to consider a client were working for you.
Mm-hmm.
What was that dynamic like? And I'm going to tell my anecdote on this when I went to the sewer district in a minute, but go ahead and.
Oh, when I went from being the client to being the boss?
Yeah.
I think the good part about it was they knew who I was already.
So they respected what you had brought to the table.
I don't know if they respected. I knew we had to make changes, and I'll tell you, the first 9 months was hard because I knew the changes we had to make. It was the resistance toward it.
You weren't pulling the Chuck Noll speech. We're going to win a Super Bowl is the good news. The bad news is most of you won't be here to see.
No. I need them all. It's already hard to find people. But it was just a culture change, and you know But I think after around 9 months, I knew I was onto something.
But you were changing the culture.
I was changing the culture. I was changing.
How so? What was the dynamic?
I started focusing more on staff and how we can incentivize some of the licenses they could get.
Okay.
I was looking at. I mean, I can go through a bunch of it. The first thing is, in a series of things, I went around and, at the end of the day, it's a place of work. I went there and I found some bathrooms that looked dilapidated. Immediately, I had those replaced. I was like, I wouldn't even use these at the time.
We're in the wastewater business, and
yeah, and we got contractors to come in and clean that up. So staff started seeing, oh, they really care. And then we got into, and this was something I read a while ago, we started purging. We just started putting an emphasis on cleanliness and orderliness and, putting pride into making sure the trucks and the equipment were clean. And it started building. And then it got into asking the field guys, what do you need? And the first answer is more money, but I'm going beyond that.
Beyond the money, yeah.
Everybody asks for that.
You say, I just took a pay cut. What do you say?
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
But, what do they need? And they needed a pump or a backhoe, and I made sure to get that. And, all of the stuff is very small, but, from a staff level, they started seeing a progression of, okay, they're really putting an emphasis. Because I'm going to tell you, when we talk about a utility, and I'll say this as when I was a consultant, I always met the white-collar shirt people. I got to tell you, the people who really make the utility are the ones that are on third shift at the treatment plant, or who are fixing the water main break at 3 in the morning. I mean, and and I tell my leadership, we're there to support those people. If obviously we have business protocols and we have a program and we have expenditures and all of that, but you can never not look at that group. And every time I'm looking at them, I'm always asking myself, what can we do more for them?
Yeah.
And again, sometimes it's monetary, and there's many things I'm proud of what we've accomplished in that with with Brevard County, but but when you get that group, that layer, starting to believe in it, man, it's a feeling you can't describe.
I think that's really cool. I mean, we all look at public servants, so you drive by a cop and say, hey, thank you, whatever.
Yeah.
How often do you stop and tell the guy who's cleaning a manhole or a sewer, hey, thank you for the work you're doing?
Right.
They don't get appreciated the same way.
No.
My small little experience similar to what you went through is when I went to the sewer district to be the program manager. I became one of their employees or one of their managers. And, talk about flipping scripts, right? From the white collar perspective, we'll talk about it in a minute, but that's how I got to know what they're actually doing. I mean, I knew them from designs and interaction and construction.
Sure.
But I really learned what they were doing
when
we were inside, and you get a whole new appreciation. But the other thing I enjoyed about it, and that's what I'm going to ask you because we're going to kind of shift over that.
Sure.
19 years as a consultant, you knew all the tricks from our side. Or a lot of them. A lot of them. Not all of them, but a lot of them.
I got a Rolodex.
Yeah, you got
yeah.
And I knew them all as well. And when I would go into the inside with the sewer district and represent managing of the consultants and the contractors, with a different view. Right?
Oh, yeah.
And my theory, what I kept saying is, you don't understand, in our industry out where we're at, the way that you've been run as a utility, we are designing things, over-designing it to avoid risk because of what happens. Let's come up with a new culture to make these guys manage risk and save us some money because we're over-designing things. And we kind of pounded that. You were telling me when we were getting ready for this kind of podcast that you have gotten some strategies and tactics with your background as a consultant and interacting with other consultants and having your staff do it. So why don't you share some of those Eddie-isms, if you will, on the,
I mean,
what'd you call it, spitballing or whatever?
Yeah. It's one of those things, Tim, look, I know you got a running head start on when we were born, but we were still exposed to the same people.
Yeah.
And if you look back at the people that we were exposed to, they were all graduates of the 60s, early 70s for the most part.
Yeah.
And now we're putting the label old school. So, one of the things that frustrated...
Fossils now.
Yeah, and God bless them to who aren't around anymore. But, the new generation was, and this is one of the things, and now consultants know when they deal with me, everything was, let's put it up on the screen. Well, the problem
You
with
mean with like PowerPoint?
PowerPoint or an aerial, or let me pull up a CAD drawing. So I got away from that because it basically took away the spontaneous conversation and dialogue. And if you think about it, on a football coach or whatever, they have the whiteboard and they're drawing it up. So now we bring rolls of plans, and we have a series of markers. And I go around, and this was something that was taught to me, man, years and years ago, and everybody gets a different color marker. And
Who did that? I probably know this person.
It was actually a guy when on my first job, his name was Mike Vaughty, and he was a 30-year guy who worked at Bechtel.
Okay.
And we basically, in the beginning, people would start dialoguing. Oh, I want to do this. I said, draw it. Show me the cocktail napkin sketch. Show me your notes. What questions? And it was interesting because after an hour or 2 hour session, that plotted map, which was a 24 by 48, had comments and marked up. And even the consultants would look at it and it's like, man, we can work with this. And I just feel like I think innovation is good. There's a lot of great tools out there, but we can't forget what really worked for generations.
Oh man, I mean, you talk about sketching ideas out.
Yeah.
You know how many times I would do this with Mark Coleman or whoever, and just, no, we need to do this. No, we need to. When you write it with your hand while you're on a whiteboard, it gets impregnated into your brain a different way.
It does.
And then you can collaborate, and then like the more energy of collaboration versus looking at a screen and waiting for the next slide.
And that's the key. It's
a generational thing to some degree, right? So you're pushing this down on your...
Oh yeah, and my engineers who are in their 20s through early 40s, they love it. Because you're exactly right. The consultant shouldn't be presenting it, they should be collaborating.
Yeah.
And you have to build a forum of how do you do collaboration. And if it's just hands crossed looking at a screen or a PowerPoint, I don't know what that is. But if you can get people interactive where they can start, sketching
so your younger staff are
we do this with every consultant.
Are all into it now?
Oh, they love it.
I love it. That's good.
I love it. Yeah. The other, we have our engineers, all of them, and again, they resisted in the beginning. 1 week a year, they are a treatment plant operator.
Oh, you put them into the field, yeah.
1 week a year.
Is that Hank Krieger saying you got to watch a water main go in or something?
No, they're not observers. They are an operator.
They're actually operating.
They are turning. They're sampling. They're doing it all. And I tell you, I have a lot of ideas. Some I cross my fingers and hope they work, and some don't. But this one, I knew I hit on something because when they would come back after a week, they were like, oh my God, that was the greatest. I'm so sorry I gave you a tough time. And every year they're like, hey, what month are we doing it again?
They're all into it now.
They're all into it.
Do you use that as a recruiting tool?
No. I mean, I don't know how to recruit today's generation like that. Do you want to go? Do you want to play foosball, or do you want to work as an operator?
You want to work on the primary clarifier?
Yeah.
Let me show you. That's cool.
Yeah.
So when you talk about the collaboration too, we were talking about consultants, right? But I imagine because you're in Florida, you do a hell of a lot of collaborative delivery and design build and things of that nature, right?
We do a lot of design bid build. We're going into the CMAR. I'm a big fan.
You're going into CMAR, okay.
I like CMAR. That's just my preference.
The question I was going to ask you, do you see the contractors gravitating to that?
They love
spitballing?
Yes.
I mean, that's more attuned to them, I think, right?
And that's why I love CMAR. For me, I love it because I pick the engineer, I pick the contractor, and I'd say not me, but obviously a committee.
Your team does. Yeah.
But when we're doing it, it's emphasizing the word collaboration. You know,
Yep.
we're collaborating, and it's interesting because when you go through that process, the perspective a contractor gives to a consultant, and listening to that, it's like, oh, you know
Yeah.
what I mean? They're bringing good stuff, and you know, not to bring up John Barber, but I
man,
remember
yeah.
the quote he used to always say is, "The contractor is not the enemy; they're
Yeah.
your ally." And
This
if you
is the guy, though, that told a guy in a claim negotiation I had that you need to settle. It's going to take 4 years to settle this in the courts, and you don't look that good. You'll never see the money. You know, and the guy swears back at him. We start negotiating from there. But John was, you're right, John was a collaborator, and we got to live with a contractor. He's not the enemy.
It's not the enemy.
How do we work together to resolve a difference of opinion?
Right.
And he was very good at that.
Yeah,
He
and
was.
you know, I take the approach, I'm not here to win, I'm not to lose, I just want to be fair.
How do we
And
be, yeah, how do we all give what we
how
need to
to-
give to solve
right.
this?
And I'd say that to the consultants we work with, you know, if they ask for an addendum, if it's fair, I have no issue.
Yeah.
And if we take that approach, I think we deliver a great product.
Yeah. So the other thing I was going to ask you, because you're now the 4th or 5th utility director I've done one of these things with from Florida. I know you're thinking, why wasn't I the first? And you know, there's that. But
Now I know where I'm at in the
it's-
pecking order here,
well,
yeah.
it's that incident at
Who
Fort
called
Lauderdale.
out sick today that I had to take the spot?
It was the thing we went together with in Fort Lauderdale. I just couldn't deal with it. That being said, I see a common theme from all of them. I was going to ask your opinion on it. That there's a lot of similarities to what other utility directors are dealing around the rest of the country, like you know, attrition and succession and some of these other common themes. But the growth that's going on down here.
Oh yeah. It's
Now
great.
compare that to where we grew up. I mean, what are the big drivers in the Great Lakes and the Midwest? It's 120-year-old systems that were made out of brick deteriorating, and
Right.
how do you keep those functional and good state of good repair? Down here, what I've heard from all of the people that have done this with me is meeting the demand of the growth.
Oh yeah.
So Brevard County, I assume, fits that in a major way.
Brevard County is a huge growth area, so
How do you deal with that on your, what's the Eddie way of dealing with that demand? And
well, for me, it's two components. I'm dealing with growth, and then I'm also dealing with regulatory.
okay, the changing regulatory environment?
Yeah, in Florida, we associate regulatory with the EPA, which, if you're familiar on the water distribution or water treatment, PFAS is a big issue now. And again, we're dealing with that. But, Florida, I would say, starting around 2019, they've just been ramping up the environmental compliance. Nutrient reduction is
Right.
a big component. AWT is now becoming the norm. It used to be when you designed a treatment plant, AWT was the bells and whistles. Now it's the norm.
Right.
Deep injection well disposal. The fact that Florida now changed the laws, and it's similar to what they did in the Great Lakes years and years ago. They changed the laws where now the state can sue a public entity under civil court.
Okay.
For
yeah. Yeah.
So, for me, I'm dealing with growth, and then I'm dealing with the not the list of I should, I have to. And when I say I have to, I have a law that's tied to it. Not, Eddie, you should do this. No. I have
You're
such
like
a
living in a consent decree world of, yeah,
and every time you have a violation, it's a consent order.
yeah.
So, and some of the laws kick in 2029, 2032. But it takes 4 or 5 years to build anything of
I know.
substantial. And now we're doing investments that are 50, 120, 200 million. Our program's running close to 850 million right now over a 10-year.
Is the growth that's going on in Brevard County allowing you to be able to, finance and game plan for this?
We are, but we also strategize with a rate consultant.
Okay.
Making sure, because as price, the second you feel like you got your rates down, prices are still escalating.
Right.
And that's another. I think every utility director, at least in Florida, feels, because it used to be you could take a data point of 4 or 5 jobs that adjacent utilities were doing and say, oh, it's going to cost about that amount. But now those data points they're not even worth it, because the next job's going to cost 10% more.
Yeah, right.
Is it material? Is it, I don't know. But it's the reality we deal with. So on top of what I do, I work with a rate consultant. We look at the projections of what the program is. We ask, how do we pay for it? What form of debt service? People say get state revolving fund. Well, the problem is, as I described in Florida, everybody's got to meet the same state regulations.
Right.
So you're competing for the same pot of money.
Well, how do you do that? I mean,
you have to be diligent. You got to look ahead. You have to educate. And this is what I go through, and I say it in a positivity. I show my boss what the numbers are. I meet with commissioners to explain what the dynamic is. And it's,
so there's a heavy political part of your job too, right? I mean,
in order to get the funding, you have to get the buy-in of the board. And I think the story is there. You just got to spend the time and really explain to them. We spend so much time
in a way they can gravitate to it, right?
Right. And
you've always been a storyteller, right?
I try to. I tell my staff, every project is a story.
Yeah.
So if you can't tell the story, then don't do the project.
Right. And then you got to tell it to the community, because they're the ones that are going to live it, right?
And they're the ones that are going to get the bill and wonder, why is my bill more than what it was the month before?
I can't even see what you did. It's below ground, right?
Exactly.
I mean, what did it do for me?
Exactly.
Right. Yeah.
That's why we add sidewalks, so they see something.
Give them something. Curb cuts. Give them something.
Plant a tree.
Yeah, something. Yeah. Well, what kind of advice would you give to other utility directors based on what you've learned over the last several years? What are the rules of Eddie, if you will?
I don't know if there's rules. I think if you have a good staff, it makes it easier. I have 4 managers. I have an assistant director and 4 managers. I will tell you, I'm ecstatic with all of them. We have a great rapport. We have a very interactive, passionate conversations, but it's all about the betterment of what we want to do. Like I said earlier, never lose sight of the people who show up in the morning, who are not wearing what you and I are wearing.
Yep.
Never lose sight of them. If there's something even minuscule you can do to make their life a little bit easier, I'm telling you, the payback you'll get from that, it's profound.
Eddie, I ran a public works department in my second job in the Navy. Mm-hmm. And the captain of the base was pissed off because my shops guys were getting to the lunchroom 5 minutes before the rest of the supply corps guys. So you got to tell them to stop doing that.
All right.
I go, listen, it's 5 minutes they need so that they can get back to doing what they got to do with, whether you don't even know the details of it.
Yeah.
If I take those 5 minutes away, I'm going to lose 5 hours a week.
Right.
That's all they got.
Right.
Can you just let me live with that? And he says, all right, this better work. When they were able to keep that 5 minutes, it was giving them something little, and I took on the captain, right? And I had him for the rest of the year. I was their hero after that.
Yeah. But
so that sounds like what you're doing.
It's a good feeling, though.
Right, and because I understood what they were doing.
Right.
I mean, what their sacrifices were to be able to get cleaned up, go to the lunchroom, come back, try to get out, right? And you're saying just find these little things that might make a difference in their day, and that's all they want to be told, right? That you appreciate what they do.
Yeah.
And can you imagine a community that didn't have these people? We just take it for granted.
We need them. You know, people who fix broken sidewalk, fill the holes in the roads, fix the pipes. I mean, it's hard to define a department without those people.
Yeah.
So, best advice I can give to consultants: being a consultant and doing what I've been doing for 10 years. It's one word: empathy.
For a consultant.
For a consultant. Empathy. Empathy, empathy, empathy. And what does that mean?
Yeah, what does that mean?
Anybody can, and I don't want to say anybody, but you know, we deal with a multitude of consultants, and they're all talented. You know, we have the big firms, and I've seen it, and it's a pleasure working with them all. But empathy, asking yourself, there's 3 requirements I tell my engineers before we start a job that I have on a project. 1, it's got to work, okay?
Well, yeah.
But easier said than done.
Yeah.
1, it's got to work. 2, ease of operation. And this is empathy, and I'll touch on that. And number 3, it's got to look good. Now, it's a distant 3, but it's my top 3. And when we go into any project, it's ingrained with my project manager or engineers. These are the goals. It's got to work, ease of operation, and aesthetics. It's got to work. I think it's self-explanatory. Ease of operation. After the job is done, after the firm gets their last bill paid, it is those same men and women that I described earlier that have to operate it, that have to fix it. And I'm not saying they're going to fix it in month 6, but you know, everything is mechanical.
Yeah.
It'll break. You know,
or even access to a structure, right? I mean,
access to a structure.
Yeah.
Pick it. Why are you going to pick a vendor that's only got 1 application in North America?
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, what kind of service?
Yeah.
What kind of service are you going to get from that vendor to that utility?
Right.
Because we're not calling you; you're done.
No.
So we got to call them, and to find out, well, we got to deploy them.
We don't make that anymore.
You know, from Siberia. We
don't make that anymore.
I can't believe you bought that, right? I know we sold it, but I can't believe
you got the last one.
But you know, it's funny because I go through. I just came back from WEFTech. I'm in Chicago. You see all of these vendors, and I'm not knocking them, and I'm not going to name any by name. But you know, to me, I see consultants get excited on the bells and whistles, and in order to know who your client is, you got to have empathy. You know, you got to be able to ask yourself, well, wait a minute, if I pick this equipment, what's their service, time on helping me fix this?
Yeah.
Accessibility is great. I go through it, and if you don't know how it's going to get fixed or replaced, I'll give you one. I went out, when I was in Palm Bay, I went out with my field guys, and there was an electrical panel.
Yeah.
And I went out with the guys on a night call. It was 8 o'clock at night. I remember it was raining. It was a recent lift station, and the panel was on a concrete slab.
Okay.
Okay? The slab was 6 inches high, right? Mm-hmm. So that way if water ponds, right?
Yeah.
And I remember the electrician had to go in his car, get a step stool on wet ground to get high enough so he could work on the panel. And I said, "What are you doing?" And he goes, "Well, I don't have anyone." So I went back in the office. I said, "Do we have any more lift stations where you haven't designed?" He goes, "Yeah, we have 3 more." I go, "Let me look at them." And again, the only thing that had a concrete pedestal was the panel.
Okay.
So I go to the consultant and I said, "Can I ask you something? Can I make that slab 4 feet out?"
So he doesn't have to pull out a step lamp.
So he doesn't have to pull it. But to me, that's empathy.
Yeah, no, I get it. I get it.
You know, when you see, and it's a common theme for me, because if you don't see it, you don't get it. But to those people, the men and women that go out there that are fixing it or operating it, when you see, you want it, to me, for me to make that slab bigger makes their job easier.
That's a great. Do you remember Bill Schaefer from Wayne County?
Yeah.
He was my client, right? And one of the things he'd make me to do when I was designing was to go on service calls, like if we were designing a pump station.
Mm-hmm.
He would make me go out on the service calls with his crews. Say, watch what they do, listen to what their concerns are, and I don't want to hear any of that. You do this design, right? And that stuck with me and he also would make me go into the chambers first to make sure that I could fit in there before he put any of his people in there. But you're right. Now, with that, I assume the proposals you're getting are hitting those elements.
What do you mean by the proposals?
When they're doing like a design proposal, do they want to make sure that they're showing operationally sensitive, simple? Well, if they're not doing it, they're not listening to you. But I assume that you're getting it into your product by.
You know, I do it. We marinate in the concept. I have our maintenance guys look at the plans, not to check the engineering, to check the accessibility. You know, I remember one time we did a project, a consultant, I said they had a piece of equipment, and the guy that designed it, I asked a question. I said, I got to ask you something. In 10, 12 years, that piece of equipment's going to break, and I got to replace it. How are my guys supposed to get that piece of equipment out? And I remember he gave the wrong answer, which was, that's not my problem.
He said,
and I was like, no, it is your problem. And again, you know, I go back, my best advice, and I hope other firms hear this, because if you go into a project with empathy, it's gonna go well.
Without, you know, the other thing about the bells and whistles too is you're always trying to differentiate yourself from the competition. Sometimes that means introducing new things to a client that may not benefit them.
Yeah, but
Right.
I mean, there was a time when the Yugo was brought over back in the day. I just don't want to be the first guy to buy the Yugo. Can 1,000 people buy this, and then I can see how it works, and then I'll get on the Yugo?
So it's the guy that owned a Pinto, right?
Yeah, exactly. You probably still own it.
Opel GT. So this empathy thing and what you've learned over the years, what would a younger Eddie do differently as a consultant?
I would have spent more time. I would have done what Bill Schaefer did to you. To me, going out in the field isn't showing up with khakis and brand new work boot and a clipboard for 2 hours and then saying, I saw enough. I think it's getting entrenched. And, you know, I go back, you know, my engineers, they spend a full week. I tell them, your shift starts at 6:30, so if you're 10 minutes early or 15 minutes late, that's my motto.
Yeah.
When you're there, you're not taking phone calls on your projects. You work a 6:30 to 3:30 shift, but you gotta entrench in it. You know, and I think the more they see that, I think they'll start to understand what that word empathy really means.
Yeah, no, that's great. So you got any final thoughts you want to?
No, we're out of time.
Well, I mean, timekeeper. She's type time.
No,
we didn't talk about
good.
hurricanes. You didn't have to deal with those in the Midwest. I mean, have you had to? I know it. You don't want me to jinx it. Have you had to deal with anything major?
I mean, in 10 years, I've dealt with 1, 2, I don't know, I lose track, 3 or 4 hurricanes. You know, the biggest thing for us, I mean, it's...
You know, the utility directors I have talked to, they're all on the other side of the state. What about being an Atlantic-facing
A hurricane can come either way.
I'm waiting for Lake Erie to come in. Yeah.
It's not this, it's like a Twix bar. It's the left and right. It don't matter. It's
Same ocean.
It's the same motion. You know, the worst that we get. I mean, there's the. It depends on the rainfall. The worst is the biggest issue we have is power outages.
Yeah, yeah.
We have backup generators, but they're not everywhere, and obviously it becomes a shell game. We have a very good. We deal with FPL. They're our energy provider. They've been great. They put us at a high priority for.
Yeah.
So you know, and then you got the good old FEMA paperwork.
There's all that.
Yeah,
right?
to any utility director that's gone through it, they know what I mean.
It's like amazing. So last thing for me though, Detroit for your whole life area. Yeah. Now you've been down here what, 15 years now? 20. Still a Detroit sports fan.
I am.
Bucks, Lions.
My son is a Bucks fan because he was born here, and I took him. I did the mistake of taking him to the Bucks games in the Tom Brady era.
Yeah.
I'm a Lions fan.
Were you consoling him last Monday night, or were you?
Yeah. Well, he didn't take my call. I'm a Tigers fan. I've never been a Red Wing fan. I've always been a Toronto Maple Leaf fan. Yeah.
And you had the best restaurants to go to Italian-wise in Detroit. So I don't know the last time you've been there, but for those that don't visit very often, where would you go?
You know, all the places I used to go to aren't around anymore.
The one you used to take us to.
I loved Roma Cafe.
Roma Cafe.
Yeah, but it's not. They sold it, and but that was a good place to go.
Well, hey Eddie, here's to 30 years, man.
Yeah.
Knowing you.
Yeah.
And I'm really happy to see how your career has taken off, as I knew it would.
I appreciate it. It's an honor to be on this. I saw this. I'm glad to be number 5 as utility directors in Florida.
Well, we had 3 cancellations.
I just want to make sure number 6 knows I beat them.
We got to find some. You got any suggestions?
No, I'm afraid. You guys are going to get a mailman next, and I'm not going to feel like
All right, well, that's a wrap. Thank you again for another great show. We'll see you next time. Thanks, Eddie.